On Target Talks. My name is Garrett Namenye. I'm your host. This is the podcast where we discuss real estate, guns, and fun. And so this is the very first podcast. I wanted to take a couple minutes to tell you a little bit, the purpose of the podcast, what I think is important, and, just kind of thank you for chiming in. And so I have a piece of paper to kind of keep me on track. So, I wanted to highlight how incredible of a state Arizona is. And so one of the ways that I felt that I could do that is through a podcast and having those intentional conversations with other people. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've been a top 5% realtor in Arizona for the past 2 years. This year, looking to do even better. And so because of that, I've done a fair amount of traveling. I've looked at all different neighborhoods, all different towns, and this kind of gives me a unique perspective on the state and what it has to offer. And so I'm going to be interviewing fascinating people that are involved in the real estate industry. Maybe they're, contractors, realtors, lenders, anything that I think could provide value to you in regards to, real estate. And so, the next portion of the podcast is going to be the guns portion. And so I've been a firearms enthusiast for the better part of a decade. I've recently taken up competition shooting, and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And so what some people don't know is that, Arizona's essentially a mecca for firearms and firearms enthusiasts. We're home to, some of the world-class shooting facilities throughout the state and the valley. And I'm really excited to dive in and highlight those for, anyone that's curious or interested in firearms. And, whether it's long distance shooting, whether it's, practical shooting, dynamic drills, concealed carry, or sporting clays, I love it all, and I do it all. And I think that I'm really excited to share that portion of my life with you. It's something that I've never really talked about. And so, it's something that I've been passionate about. So I wanted to combine my two passions of real estate as well as firearms. And so I'm excited to expose other people to, that portion of me as well as what the state has to offer. The other portion of the podcast is going to be the fun portion. These will be topics that I personally find interesting. So, just to kind of give you a little sampler of what I'm envisioning for this portion of the podcast is health, wellness, exercise, art, music, and anything kind of in those realms. Anything that I find, exceptionally intriguing, I want to share that with you. And I was sitting around the other day and I was thinking about all the incredible people that I've ran into or people that are dear to me. And I recently went on a podcast, and it was the first one I had ever done. And one thing that I really appreciated was the opportunity to have an exceptionally intentional conversation with somebody. I think one thing that we lack in this world is authenticity and just being real. And so I also want to do this podcast in the most real and authentic way possible, and to kind of make a time capsule of, maybe relationships that I have or people that I find interesting. And so one thing that I'm going to promise in this podcast is that it's going to be real, it's going to be raw, it's going to be authentic. Words are going to be stumbled upon. There's going to be awkward pauses. I'm not looking to do something that's overly produced and super shiny. I want you to know that when you listen to this podcast, that you're going to experience, no BS. It's all just going to be real and authentic. And so the opportunity to get better with each podcast is something that I really cherish, and I'm really excited to take on in this endeavor. So by now, I've already released a couple podcasts. So, I encourage you to, after you're done listening to this one, go check out the next one. Just to set some expectations, I'm going to be releasing podcasts twice a month, so every 2 weeks. So keep an eye out, and when you see one pop up, feel free to listen. If you have any questions, or if you feel like there's anyone that you feel would be a really good guest on the podcast, don't hesitate to reach out. And you can reach out to me at any time. My phone number is 616-402-5216. You can text, you can call. I'm really excited to, have this be a two-way street and to, have that communication. So let's go. Let's start the podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.